Hey guys, it's me and welcome to my channel. So today I decided I'm going to try to do tutorials on the beadwork that I do, keeping in mind that this is the way that I do it. Everybody has their own system, their own materials that they use, that they prefer to use. So what I do might not be what somebody else does. So just keep that in mind. But here we go. So this video is going to focus on the materials that you will need in order to start beadworking. And I'm going to show you everything that I use. And then at some point down the line, if you guys are interested, please leave me a comment below. And if enough people are interested, I will actually start doing tutorials on how I actually do the beadwork. So we're just going to start with the materials today. That way, if you guys want to, you can get your materials and be ready for when I decide to do a class. So sorry if I sound far away. I'm kind of turning because I'm trying to get everything that I use so that I can show you guys. Okay, so the first thing and the most important thing is the backing that I use. You can get different kind of backings. You can get just plain old felt. You can use fabric if that's what you want. You can bead on directly onto the leather. I prefer to use Pelham, which is a thick like a lining material, and you can see how thick that is. And usually I get this from Joann's Fabrics, but now that Joann's is closing, I'm going to have to try to figure out where I can get this this particular Pelham. But this is what I prefer to use. Sometimes when you go to Michael's and you go to their the section that has all the the felt and everything, you're gonna find thick felt that you can use that works just as good as the Pelham. The Pelham is a little bit more expensive. I think I pay like 10 to 15 a yard, depending on whether it's on sale. So this is the most important part. Then what you can do is you can either draw your design directly onto the Pelham, or do what I do, which is I print it onto thin paper, and then I take that and I tack it down onto the Pelham, and that's what I use as my map, basically. Also, let me see if I can find it, but there is I can't find my sheet of it, but there is like a fusing paper that people use to do beadwork on fabric. And what you do is you print out your design, because you can run it through the printer. You print out your design onto this paper and you put it on, and then you can soak your piece and it will disintegrate. And so it'll leave just the beads and the backing on there. I don't like to use that because I don't want to soak the beads in water. So I tend not to use it unless I'm beadworking directly onto fabric. Then it makes sense because you don't want the thickness of the paper on there. But if you're beading onto Pelham, I don't suggest you use any kind of fusing paper like that, because it's gonna damage your beads when you soak them. All right, so we have our printed design, we have our backing. The thicker the backing, it's going to be a little bit harder to get the needle through, but it's going to give the piece a little bit more weight. It's not going to be as flimsy, So you can see this piece here doesn't bend as much. And I have a piece that I did right here, which is kind of big. But this I used the fabric, just felt from Michaels. And you can see how much, you know, it's pretty flimsy. And this has more structure, so it's not moving as much. And this is a small piece, so it's kind of hard to show you on this small piece. Let me see if I find a bigger one. Okay, here's the beetle that I did, also with this pelham. And you can see that when I do this, it's not as much as when I do this. It also helps to weigh it down so that when you're wearing it, it doesn't flip as much. All right, I hope I'm not going too fast. But if you guys have questions, you can post them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so those are the first two things that you want to have. Your pattern and your paper, your backing. Then I use, I don't use thread that you would find in for sewing machines. Okay, so you want to go to your beading section at your art supply store, wherever it may be, Michael's or whatever, Joann's if you get to it before it closes, and you want to look for actual nylon weaving, bead weaving thread. The reason why you want to use this is because it's actually a little bit thinner but stronger than the thread you would use for sewing, and it tends to not fray as much. When you use thread that's made for a sewing machine, while you're pulling through the beads, you know, you're sewing, the thread tends to get caught more and you're going to get frustrated and it's not going to work. So you don't want to use thread that you would use for a sewing machine. This is a good brand. It's called Good Thread. I think I pay like $5 or $6 for a spool. You can see it's a pretty good amount. And I find that the white is easier to use than the black. The black is a little bit, what do you call it? It's a little thicker than the white. But you can see I have spools of it all over the place. So that's one option. And then you can also find little spools of kind of like the ones you would see on, I should have prepared better for this video actually. But me and I need to do this fast, or well, I have it in my brain. You can find these also in the beading section, and they look like this. This is paper. It's not for a sewing machine. This is thread that you would use for beading. And this one comes in different colors. So you can get like this gold, you can get pink, you can get black, white. There's another like beige kind of color. And this is good for when you're attaching the backing to the piece when you're done. So if you're using leather or the pleather, fake leather, you know, or fabric or whatever for the back part of it, this just finishes it off nicely, and you can match it better to the fabric that you're using. The next thing that you want to get is needles. So your options for needles, when you go to the threading section, you're going to find needles like this, which is sewing needles. And then you're going to find the long bead needles. And then you can find also shorter, smaller bead needles. The important thing with the needle is that it be like a number 10. Because if it's any bigger than that, you're not going to be able to fit your beads into the end part of the needle. So the bead will go in through the top, but then it's going to get stuck. And again, it's going to cause frustration. You're not going to want to work on the piece. So you don't have to spend the extra money on branded beading needles. You can just go to the sewing section and grab a little container of number 10 needles and you're good to go. You can also use the little things for threading the needle if you need it. I don't use these because they tend to break, so I don't like using them. That's an option. Another thing that I use is a rubber glove. This helps me to grasp the needle without it slipping through my fingers. So it just gives me a little more, what do you call it? I guess not tension, but the needles can get slippery from pulling them through all the time. And then when you try to pull it through, your finger's just gonna keep sliding. So I use a glove in order to be able to hold the needle better. And you don't have to. It's what works for me. So moving along to other stuff that you would need. Scissors. I use a lot of different scissors when I am doing the beadwork. You don't have to have as many scissors as I do. I will show you the ones that I prefer. So I have your little sewing needles. These are great for cutting the thread. But when it comes to cutting around your piece, when you're done beading it and you're ready to finish it off, these right here, this that has that curve is the best scissors that you can get for this, because it's going to help you control how you're going around, and it gives it a nice clean edging, so that when you're putting your leather over it or you're doing a beaded edging, it's not going to be all like wonky. So these bent ones are fantastic. I love them. Another thing that I use are the pliers to help me pull the needles through when the leather is too thick. It just helps me get it, give a little better hold and pull the needle through. I also use clippers, because sometimes you'll put an extra bead in there that doesn't fit, and then as you're working you don't realize it, but as you're working it starts to kind of push out, and this is just an easy way to clip that little bead right off, so you don't have to start over. You just squeeze it in here and pop, it's done. And my most favorite thing is this board, this bead board. So I got this a few years back, and I think they still sell it on Amazon. I will check, and if they do, I'll leave the link to it in the comment section. But let me just move all of this out of the way so you guys can see why I like this. So basically, I also have a little scooper before I move on to scoop my beads out of the, because I put my beads in a big, like box that has little drawers, and that just makes it easier for me to scoop the beads out. But this thing is a bead board, and it has on one side, it has zippers and pockets. Here's another set of needles that you can get, and you can find these in the beading section, and they come in little containers like this. These are going to fit your beadwork perfectly. It's going to be easier to pull the needles through. But this right here is fantastic. It is a bead board. It allows you to have, it has a folder for you to put your stuff in, your patterns or whatever. You have pockets to add your sewing material. You have the board to bead on. The only complaint that I have is that right on the edging here, all my beads fall in there, and then I have to kind of get rid of them. And then you can take, and let me see if I can just extend this out a little bit so you guys can see. Here we go. Nope. You can see how big it is. They do sell them smaller, and you can take this and you just zip it up, and away you go. So when I'm traveling, if I'm working on pieces and we're going anywhere where I know I'm going to be able to do some beadwork, this, I love this. This is one of the best buys I have ever done. It is a little bit expensive. It can run you about $40, but it is, if you're planning on doing beadwork for any considerable amount of time, this is a good investment. If you don't want to spend money, you can get these little beading mats, and these are just, you know, fabric, like a fuzzy fabric, and it just prevents your beads from tumbling all over the place and getting everywhere. So these come in handy too, and I use these when I'm doing the backing, just to keep the piece from sliding back and forth while I'm working on it. So that is an option if you don't want to spend money on this. You can get a pack of these, I think like 3 of them for like $5 or $6. I haven't gotten any in a long time, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's about $5 or $6. So that's pretty much everything you would need to start with your beadwork. And then of course your backing. Let me not forget about the backing. And when I say backing, is when you are done with the actual piece, you have leather that you can use. Let me see if I've used any of the, I have a vendor that I meet up with once a year, and he brings hand tanned leathers. So I love the white just because it has so much like variations to it in terms of like the yellowing and stuff like that. I absolutely love it. So this is white leather. This is suede right here. And I don't know if I have any that has, I'm just looking to see over here if I have any. I don't think I have any that has the fake leather, but they do sell these sheets of fake leather that you can use if you are vegan and you do not want to use regular leather to finish these off. So that's the materials that you guys need. I will link the board and whatever I can find. Oh, here's an example. This is fake leather. This is not real, but it looks real. So this is a little ghost that I did for Halloween. So you can always use this if you don't want to spend the money on leather. But I kind of prefer the leather because I like the way that it looks, especially if it's tanned naturally, because it gives it character, basically. So I think that's it. I'll link to the board if I can find it, and whatever other supplies I can find, I will try to give you guys information on that. So if you want me to do a tutorial on the actual beading part of this, please let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to follow my channel. I only have 3 videos on here because I had started this channel a couple of years back with the intentions of doing classes, and that did not work because I had life jump into the middle of everything. So everything's a little bit calm now, so I'm able to do more. So if you guys want me to do more and want me to do a tutorial on the beadwork, on how I do it, please leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will try to set something up in the next couple of weeks. Probably in April, I will have something ready to do like a little class for you guys. So, and then at some point I can even go live with any questions that you guys might have about beading. So that's it. That's all I got. Until next time, guys, thank you so much. You can find me here. You can find me on Instagram at shebeaded, and shebeaded, sorry. And you can also find me, of course, as the Bohio Trading Post on Instagram and on TikTok. And yeah, links to all of that will be below. And again, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, let me know if you want to see more, and I will be happy to try to teach you guys. I'm not a teacher, but I'll try. So that's it, guys. Until next time, bye.